had this idea that you could do like a whole semester or even year-long course on what is sin? What is the relationship to Jesus? I mean, oh my gosh. I'm not going to talk about Paul's letter today because his theological treatise takes a lot of parsing. What I am going to talk about is temptation, and I'll ask you, did anyone ever watch Temptation Island in the early 2000s? No? So I remember watching, apparently it's been revived. I've never seen any revivals, but I remember watching it from the newsroom as a college senior. I worked on my student paper, and we had this TV in the corner, which, we were trying to be good journalists, and we always had the news on. And sometimes we needed to change the TV to something more entertaining. It was 2001, before all news was entertainment. So I remember watching Temptation Island on a production night, many production nights. Anyway, the show's premise was that married couples would go and live on these separate islands, or different parts of the island, I don't remember, where they would commingle with singles of the opposite sex, people who are single. And of course, the singles were charged by producers with tempting the people in these committed relationships. And so all the viewers could see what would happen. Of course, it took place on an island, so you had to wear bathing suits, right? Small amounts of clothing. And nobody was unattractive. Everyone was very good looking. I vaguely remember there was something even with sleeping arrangements. So all like the temptations were there. I remember being like really, really scandalized and also captivated that anyone would participate in anything that allowed for such public scrutiny of something as sacred as a relationship. But again, 2001, before there was a Friendster, MySpace, before social media. It was the idea that a couple would put their relationship to the test like this that seemed just so ridiculous to me. I mean, what was the point? It's like it's not a real world temptation. But what was the point? I know the point was to be on TV. So I bring up Temptation Island because I think that this premise is exactly how we in the church, and anyone who thinks about the church and sin, still tend to approach the very idea of temptation and tests. We tend to frame them in terms of pleasures and life's pleasures. Things like sex and rich and delicious food. I don't know if you've seen the bit by Jim Gaffigan. He talks about sinful chocolate cake. It's really funny. I'm so bad for eating this combination of flour and milk and sugar and chocolate. I'm so sinful. I should give it up for Lent, but Sundays don't count in Lent, right? But what our gospel and even our Older Testament readings show us today, we start to really think about what's going on, is like the true nature of temptation and what it does to us isn't really about life's pleasures. It can be. So Matthew tells us that Jesus goes into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. But it's not to Temptation Island, where there are beautiful, scantily clad people and tables of death by chocolate cake. It's to the wilderness, where reliance upon God is the only thing. Jesus has been there for 40 days. He is still wet from his baptism, where God has revealed, "This is my Son, the beloved, with whom I am well pleased." It's literally the last line of the previous chapter of Matthew that precedes today's first line in the chapter. So he has been fasting now and praying, religious practices from his Jewish tradition that are not meant to self-flagellate, but are meant to turn the heart to God alone. Remember the first commandment? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. So Jesus is coming to accept who he is revealed in his baptism, he is revealed to be God's own Son, and he is discerning what is next. What is next for him, and to where and to what God is calling him to be in this world. Now, the translation that is in your bulletins, I realize the gospel book that we have is actually a little older and is different. The one you have doesn't refer to the tempter. So our translation that you have, Jesus encounters the devil. It's called diabolos in Greek, but Matthew also uses a Greek word that means the tempter, and that is what I proclaimed from that gospel book. And tempt, that is what he does. That is his purpose in this story, is to tempt. And how does he do it? Not with worldly pleasures that Jesus must say no to. He says, get some bread. He does not with worldly pleasures. He appeals to the truest and best parts of Jesus. He says, if you are the Son of God, why don't you turn these stones into bread? 3 times he appeals to Jesus. If you are the Son of God, that best part of Jesus, who Jesus really is. In other words, if you have as much power as being the Son of God would indicate that you have, then relieve yourself of hunger. That's power over self. Throw yourself down and let the angels of God save you. It's power over the cosmic order. And when that doesn't work, the tempter says, well, fine. If you'll just worship me, you can rule all of this as you want. Appealing to Jesus' call to usher in a world of peace and mercy. He's appealing to the good parts of Jesus. When Jesus is the Son of God, it's all good, but he is appealing to those good intentions. This, of course, is a really compelling story that seems almost otherworldly, but I don't think it's otherworldly at all. I don't know about you. I feel the tempter appealing to the very best parts of myself, steering me, of course, all the time, trying to turn my attention away from God, to turn my complete reliance upon God toward something else, or someone else, which is usually me. I can control my outcomes, right? Like, I'm a person who likes to control for outcomes. Those are good things. When the devil, the tempter, tempts you, or tempting you into making that the only thing. So here's a good example. I call The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein a text of terror. I hate this story so much. Happy to talk about this book with you, parse it out anytime. But anyway, The Giving Tree, we tend to hold up examples of people who help and help and help and help and help and help until they have nothing left to be really good examples. Helping is good. It is really important. Selflessness, great, wonderful. It's the best thing about people who have this grace, this gift from God, and see a need. They tend to see needs, and they meet them altruistically. That's a grace that some people have. But the tempter will and does appeal to the best side of helpers. The best side of helpers. If you're such a helper, then you must know. No one else is going to step in and help if you don't. It's all on you. There's no one else and nothing else that the boy in this story, that the boy who lives in the city and wants money might go or do to get that money. That's what happens in the Giving Tree. It's all on you. And suddenly it's all about you and about what you are doing to help. That no one else, not even God, can do. If you're like me, you have to pay attention to how much you accomplish and get done, and the temptation to keep doing and accomplishing more and also doing it really well becomes then what drives you, not God's grace and God's mercy. Or maybe you're someone who's been graced with a very strong sense of right and wrong, and whose gift is to hold people accountable to what is good and right. I hate saying things when I know there's a camera on here, but this is like my kid. I've seen it in my kid. Like, well, comes home and tells us what everyone did wrong at school. How is the tempter going to work with that? How has the tempter appealed to that already? Did you rebuke him? Or were you, like the woman in our Older Testament, deceived by the tempter? See, I think that the woman, not the gospel, this passage does not name her as Eve, just calls her the woman. And I think in this creation story, she is already the wiser and more curious of the two. And the serpent appeals to her desire to be a wise and good person, the very best part of herself. And she's deceived. You see where I'm going here, hopefully. Our gospel tells us that the tempter appeals to the very core of Jesus' identity, that he is the Son of God. And over, Jesus does rebuke him. He doesn't waver. Well, am I actually the Son of God? I don't know, maybe that was going on in his head. Am I actually the Son of God? Maybe I should try turning these stones into bread, just to be sure. Jesus has really good boundaries in this gospel passage. So I've tried coming up with how the very best part of someone would lead them to Temptation Island. And aside from some mental gymnastics, I can't. So what I want to say is Lent is not Temptation Island. Will we or won't we succumb to the things that we've sworn off for 40 days? Lent is a journey of turning ourselves back toward God. And if you want to give up something as pleasurable as chocolate for 40 days, 47 if you count Sundays, which you should. That's my, you got to do it the best way you can. Then you should do it. But only if it's part of the journey of placing your whole self into the hands of God. I think a more transformative practice is to begin to truly reflect on the very best parts of yourself. Who are you? What are the gifts that God has given you? What are the graces that you are to your community, to St. John's? And then the hard part. How might the tempter use that against you? How has the tempter used that against you? It's not easy. It's not easy. It takes a lot of self-reflection. But if you do that, if you spend these next 40 days thinking about and practicing resisting the tempter, I think you'll be pretty surprised at where you are spiritually and how you're living already into your precious life come Easter. Amen.